What is going on, everyone? I'm Ethan, also known as Ragnarocked, and welcome to my top 5 games of 2018. I wanted to put this video together for a really long time now, and I've finally come to my conclusion of my top 5. So, you know, we are a gaming channel at the end of the day, so I don't really get to talk to you guys about much games other than what I'm playing on the channel. And obviously I play more than 2 games at a time for, like, you know, months on end, however long it takes me to beat a game. So do leave your top 5 in the comments down below. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not, you know, trying to override anyone else's, because I just want to hear about games and talk about games, because that's what I'm really here for. So maybe I might be enticed to try some of your favorite games, or maybe I've never heard of some of them. So please leave them in the comment section down below. Without further ado, let's get into our top 5. So coming in at the number 5 slot is Dragon Quest XI, and what an absolute gem this game is. I bought this on the off chance because I remember playing a Dragon Quest game on like DS like years and years ago, and I don't actually think we've had a mainline Dragon Quest game released overseas for at least a very long time. So when I saw this coming, I had no interest in it at first until I was like a month away from release, but I was like, you know what, I might want to pick this game up, and probably one of the best decisions I made this year was to pick up this game. Just everything about it is so charming. The art style, the characters, just even the localization, like that has to be praised, because how they translated it so well from Japanese over to English. The voice acting is just impeccable. Like some of the characters are like, wow, you like generally believe it, or it fits their role more than you like would think with some other characters. Like sometimes you hear a character's voice and you're like, that doesn't really match you, but with Dragon Quest it's never that issue. While the story is not really too different from any other kind of JRPG or RPG type games, like, you know, you are this holy child of light and you need to go and stop the darkness because it is your calling. You are the luminary, go sort out the world, we need you in our time of darkness. But then, of course, things complicate down the road and it doesn't just lead to being a straight easy path, and then you know, get all your fellow team members and everything. But the difference is, your party members are so charming. Like, every single one of them you have to like in some way. Something about them, like maybe not all the time, maybe sometimes they're a bit annoying, but in Dragon Quest I just love them all. And like Sylvando is probably one of my favorite characters in gaming this year, and that's saying something. But even with the story not being so unoriginal, it still has all of its twists and turns and shocks. Like some moments are generally like heart-wrenching and jaw-dropping, and some of the most like beautiful CGI I've ever seen in some of those cutscenes. They were just absolutely amazing. The best part of Dragon Quest XI is that it is so simplified. So if you have not played a JRPG, like I haven't in years in all fairness, then this is our place to hop on, because the combat is simple yet like efficient. It works because like you will have your challenges. It's not like you're gonna breeze through the whole game. There were a few bosses that completely kicked my ass at least a few times, but at the end of the day you don't feel like it was really unfair, is what I like about it. So if you have not played a JRPG, then Dragon Quest XI is definitely a hop on point. I cannot recommend this game enough, but it sadly sits at number 5 on my list. But without further ado, let's move on to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is Monster Hunter World, easily one of my most anticipated games for this year. When it was leading up to release, I would not shut up about this game. I don't know how my friends didn't beat my ass because I would literally not stop talking about this game. In the end, I only managed to entice one of them to really buy it and play through it with me, but that was one of the best gaming experiences I've had this console generation, period. Like, this game is so addicting at first. Like, oh boy! When this game launched back in January, me and my friend were playing literally day and night every day for I can't even remember how long, like maybe a week or two straight. We were just infatuated with this game. It was so addicting and like nothing felt like a grind. At the end of the day, it is a Monster Hunter game. You are going to be fighting the same thing over and over again, but it's because you want to, not because like, I need to do this. If you want that armor set, go kill the monster for it. If you want this weapon, go kill the monster for it. If you need stuff to craft, go get it from the world. And I just love that about Monster Hunter World. It is in the name. Like, they really upped the game from the previous games where you just be running around just like an empty area, loading screen, another empty area, maybe the monster's in it. But this generally feels like a console Monster Hunter game, and it definitely feels like it should. I love the effort that the team put into all of the world and making sure that the monsters feel like they're a part of it. Like, you know, you got the monsters scratching the trees to mark their territory, you can like follow the tracks. It actually feels like monster hunting rather than the old games of just like, oh, it might be in this area, because it's always in this area. But in this game, you definitely feel like you are a monster hunter, and that's what I love about it. I haven't played a Monster Hunter game since Monster Hunter Freedom Unite back on the PSP, and that was a long time ago, and I was hot ass at that game. So the fact that I've been able to rekindle my love for Monster Hunter through Monster Hunter World is something that I will never forget. And with the upcoming Iceborne expansion, I'm more than ready to hop back into some more Monster Hunter. Just sadly, throughout the year, the content hasn't really been all of that. Like, we've had a few new monster releases, but other than that, it's just like re-releases of Arch-Tempered stuff. Some of the collaborations are cool, but it's not, up until this point, been enough to keep my interest. But as I said, with Iceborne coming up next year, I am more than ready to hop back into Monster Hunter World. If you've always been on the fence about trying a Monster Hunter game, then Monster Hunter World is definitely the game for you. Please give it a try if you see it on sale or anything, you know, just pick it up right now for that matter, because you are doing yourself a disservice of not playing this game or at least trying it. But yeah, Monster Hunter World, number 4 on my list, but without further ado, let's move on to number 3. To absolutely no one's surprise, Red Dead Redemption 2 makes it onto the top 5 list, but to many people's surprise, it is not my number 1 or my number 2 game of the year, but it lands softly at number 3. Where do you even start with a game this big? Well, I guess we can start off with the world. The world is huge, and the world is gorgeous. Like, this is probably one of the best looking games I have ever seen in my life. Like, the attention to detail is just impeccable. In just a world design, that's what the like attention to detail is incredible in. Not just like everything else, like interactions and all the other things, like falling over in the mud and leaving like an imprint on the ground, and then, you know, it's like covering that part of your clothes where you hit the floor. There are just so many small little details that if I was to list them all, we'd literally be here until at least midway through next year. I feel like, if I was to start listing details. For me, what I love the most about Red Dead Redemption 2 is not in the gameplay, because in the gameplay itself, it is pretty bland and bare bones. Like, you really are just, you know, lock on aiming, shooting. That's pretty much all you do for the main majority of the game, but for me, it is just a whole feeling of being part of the Vandalin gang. Like, you generally feel like you are a member, like you feel at home with them. When you return to camp after like a long day of killing and hunting and just riding around this massive open world, you just feel like you've been welcomed home, and then having interactions with like all of the characters as you walk around camp, grab a bowl of stew, and then Susan will come and talk to you and tell her about her problems or about the day, or just like chiming in on people's conversations and getting to learn more about their character through not even necessarily moment-to-moment gameplay. You're just there, you're being rewarded with story because you are there at that moment, and that's what I really love about this game. But of course, playing through the first game, I generally knew where the game was heading, so some things can't really be that much of a surprise. Like, you knew some people were not going to be making it into the second game, but for anyone who hasn't played the original Red Dead and hopped onto Red Dead 2 first, then I envy you, because it's not gonna be such like a lukewarm experience as in like some cases for me, because obviously, like I said, I knew some characters weren't gonna make it, and I knew generally how things were gonna shape up, and in the end it wasn't really much of a surprise, but there still had its twists and turns in between. But I do have to give a good round of applause for Red Dead 2, because it has netted me my most viewed video on the channel. If you have not seen it, go check it out. It is a discussion on where is John Marston's daughter in Red Dead 2. And Red Dead 2 also delivered me my favourite character this year, being Arthur Morgan. I absolutely love that guy. He's such a good character, and the fact that we get to shape a lot of his actions, I feel like we can connect to him a lot more, and just the way he is in general, he's so like snarky, sarcastic, and then like, you know, caring when he needs to be. You know, he means well, but just running with his outlaw gang, he's not really able to towards, I mean, at least until towards the end anyway, when he starts to realize and think for himself. But I absolutely love the guy. Roger Clark did an amazing performance as Arthur Morgan. And then we have the whole topic of Red Dead Online, which honestly I have been enjoying with my friends. It is very fun to play through with friends. I'm not too sure about playing it on your own. I wouldn't play it too long by myself, I don't think, but yeah. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with it, but I mean, it's only in beta, there's still so much more to come, so I'm really looking forward to what they come up with and what we're going to be able to do a few months down the line from now. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 sits at number 3 on my list, so without further ado, let's hop on to number 2. Coming in at the number 2 spot is Spider-Man, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I was not even excited for this game all year or any of the years leading up to its release until literally like few weeks before it was meant to launch, and when I started seeing trailers, I'm like, hold on, this game actually looks kinda good, because I'm not really that big of a comic fan, so I was never really that interested in Spider-Man. I was happy it was coming out for the people that wanted it, but when I decided to pick it up for myself, I was pleasantly surprised. Given that I only played through the Batman Arkham games this year, I felt already at home with the combat system in Spider-Man, so that was already a plus point for me. I didn't feel like I was overwhelmed at any moments, but for me, it was all in the animation. Some of the animations in this game are some of the favourite I've ever seen. Like when you rappel or whatever you do off the top of the buildings, that is one of the coolest animations to me. I don't know why I like it so much, but it feels so satisfying. And satisfying is the main word I'd use for this game overall. Just everything you do feels satisfying. The web slinging is satisfying, some of the, you know, animations you can do, the combat feels satisfying, just everything comes together as just one big satisfying pack. I think another aspect that has to be praised for Spider-Man is the fact that Insomniac Games decided to go with a different approach to the story rather than an origin story for Peter that we have seen countless times in movies. It's just something nice and fresh for the game. You know, Peter's now older and he's been doing this for a few years, so that takes a more interesting spin on things, and now consequences are a bit more real to him than maybe when he was a bit younger. And then for me, not being a massive comic book fan, a lot of the villains in this game, I really didn't know who they were. Like, I may have heard of them like from time to time in certain things, but I never really knew them. But Spider-Man did a really good job at, you know, selling them to me and giving me a general idea of what they're about, so kudos to that. Although the ending was spoiled for me pretty early on, it didn't take away from my overall experience at all. Like, even though, as I said, a big part of the ending was spoiled for me, there was still more twists and turns that I was never expecting to see in this game, so I have to hand Insomniac that. If there was anything I had to critique, it would probably be that I feel like they could have added more villains. I know we had like the whole Sinister Six and everything, and that's quite a big bunch, but even their boss fights felt kind of weak compared to like what it was all leading up to, if I'm being completely honest. But hey, they did set up a lot for the sequel, so the sequel is what I'm looking forward to, and they have a lot of good foundation that they can build off of, so I'm really looking forward to what Insomniac Games can do with the rest of Spider-Man. But Spider-Man sits at number 2 on my list, so without further ado, let's get to number 1. God of War wins as my game of the year, and it has stayed that way since I finished and the credits rolled. I absolutely love this game. If you've noticed throughout the top 5, a big thing for these games has been either it's revitalized my love for the game or it's got me to try something new for the first time, and God of War is the epitome of all of that. Before this God of War, I have literally never cared about the series. I was never interested in it. I did not like the look of the combat. I even played like a demo of the third game, was just not into it. I just really did not understand the appeal for Kratos or any of that, but this God of War right here completely changed my mind. It just did everything right for me. It completely just changed the whole formula of the series. No longer is it just this hack and slash game that just really looked kind of boring to me personally. I'm sorry if I'm offending all of you die-hard God of War fans out there, but I was just completely taken in by this game. It is gorgeous, and the Norse setting is really what drew me in, because as you can tell by the whole theme of my channel, if you haven't been able to tell so far, I'm quite a big fan of Norse stuff. The game is just gorgeous and the characters are so memorable. Like, I did not know that you could just take Kratos from being just this angry guy all the time to a sincere and loving father who is like struggling with his past and trying to bring it into his relationship with Atreus. It just fits so well. Like, some of the set pieces in this game are just like breathtaking. Like, even in like the first half an hour of the game, something crazy is already happening, and that persists throughout its lengthy campaign. This game is not short, and can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that it is all done without a single camera cut. It is done in one continuous shot, which is just crazy to me. I don't know how they managed it, but it works so well, and there's literally spoiled games for me now when they have a long loading screen of like 10 seconds. I'm like, what even is this? The combat is also so good. Every swing you take, you feel it. There's like just like an impact on screen and in your hands with the controller vibrating. It just feels so good. And the Leviathan axe is hands down the best weapon in any game I've ever played. I cannot stress that enough. That thing is so satisfying. Throughout the course of like the 20 to 30 odd hour adventure, you'll be throwing that thing countless times, and not once does it get old when it comes back to your hand after calling it, after running across the map and wherever you left it, pressing triangle and it coming flying back into your hand is literally the most satisfying thing in this entire game. And let's not forget, this is the game that completely changed the way that people view the word boy.
Come boy. 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 Boy! Wait for me, boy!
God of War is just a complete package, and honestly it's probably one of my favorite games of all time. If you have a PS4 and do not have this game, what are you doing? Get out there, get yourself God of War, whether it be on sale or just buy it right now, because either way you will not have your money wasted. And that has been my top 5 games of 2018. To end off the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that this is my final video for 2018, but before I went, I wanted to give you guys a massive thank you. Returning to YouTube this year has honestly been so great. I could not have asked for anything better. I know we're not a massive channel by any means, but I'm dedicated to making that change before the end of 2019. If we can hit at least like 100 subscribers before the end of 2019, I'll feel like I will achieve something. It's taken a lot of time and commitment, as I knew it would, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And I cannot wait to bring you guys more in 2019. I'm going away to spend some time with family over Christmas, and I'm looking to improve the general, just overall look at the channel slightly. And yeah, we'll keep going strong in 2019. I want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've been Ethan, also known as Ragnarocked, and I will see you next year. Bye!